All right. Let me make sure it's recorded. Okay, good. So what a great day we have. Today is April 27th, 2021. We're in the 2020s, the new roaring 20s. And
Yeah.
what a special guest we have. What a special day. We always want to pay tribute and respect to our legends as they're here, as they breathe and walk the earth. And one of our legends is right here, Grammy nominated hip hop legend, representing but not limited to the South of the United States, and celebrating 25 years of a classic album that just reached here, there, everywhere. We're going to talk about how Soul Food, the album, reached everywhere, and also celebrating a new album that's receiving a critical acclaim, Survival Kit. We have Big Gipp of the legendary Goodie Mob, one of the formidable founding members, Dungeon Family. And so thank
Yeah.
you, Big Gipp, for being with us today. What had happened is in the house.
Yeah, man. What's the good with you, King? What's happening?
Man, well, I'm doing well. I'm glad we got to make this call because you have so many things happening, and that's right now. But you also have such a history, such a track record, um, that's been so influential. Especially the era as you're celebrating 25 years of soul food. That era really was a new emergence of Southern hip hop and rap, because of course we always had the MIA, the Miami bass and the Southern bass, and with Dungeon Family, Outkast, yourself, Organized Noise, you guys brought a whole nother soulful sound and elevated the entire region into a whole nother stratosphere. So I want to talk a bit about that. Talk about your ventures with Gipp Goodies, which is a hot company right now, and and then you tell me how you doing real quick before we even get into all that. How's life?
Oh man, life is great, man. Man, like you said, celebrating the 25th anniversary of Soul Food, the 24th anniversary of I think Still Standing, the
Yeah.
26th, 27th anniversary of Outkast, Southern Playeristic Cadillac Music. So yeah, man, it's been all about just really looking back at the things that we've done in life and being appreciative that we was given this role. And hey, I mean, it seems like after this pandemic, people called us right back out. Like, yo, man, like we need some goodie mobs. So with that being said, we went in the studio during the pandemic, recorded the album with Organized Noise. Of course, the Outkast is on the record, 3000 on the record called No Cigar, Big Boy on the record called Pray for the Sheep, Big Rube on the album. Um,
Yeah.
and hey, Organized Noise, Goodie Mob, the Dungeon Family, just the original seven, man. I mean, you can't get no more, can't get no better than that. So with us, it's great. I mean, we feel like this is a new world. This is a new world because during the pandemic, this was the first time that people even understood what cell therapy meant. Now we see that Whole Foods. Now you're gonna be able to put a microchip in your hand and buy your food. When we showed you that 25 years ago, you didn't know we were showing you. But
What? Go
one
ahead.
thing about the pandemic, it put people in a place where they had to go back and figure out what do I need in this time. If we had to live in a pandemic, what would we need? What were our essentials? And one thing that really came to our heart was music. So we made some more.
We're so glad y'all stayed active because we know, there was some periods where the groups went different directions. Some group members went different directions. There was some, Cujo, I think, believe had an accident, and that definitely put a monkey wrench in productivity. Um, and I want to talk a bit more, real quick, about cell therapy. But even before I get to that, like that era, we you part of history. And I was wondering, was Goodie Mob present in New York when Outkast won the Artist of the Year at the Source Awards?
Oh yeah, we was there.
What
We
what,
was
what
there.
was that setting like? Because that's like a legendary Source Awards. Paint the picture of what it was, but you
Man,
remember from that day.
to me at that time, people got to understand at that time the world was not so advanced as it is now. We only had one station that we all looked at during that time, and it was called BET. BET was doing these things called Source Awards. So people got to understand that this Source Award that we particularly showed up at, this was like the third Source Award. So it was still kind of primarily still new. Yeah. And I can't say this was the first time.
Hold on. I don't, hold on, your volume just cut out and I can't miss anything you say about this. Go ahead.
I said 95 was the first time, 96, that year that we went to the Source Awards. I think that was the first time that all of us got to see each other in the flesh. See, at that time, that was the emergence of everything. So you got Biggie Smalls dropping. Then you got Snoop them dropping. Yeah. Then you got Outkast dropping. You got to understand, Bad Boy, our first tours was Goodie Mob, Outkast with Biggie Smalls and Craig Mack. Those were our first tours. You know what I mean? Because we was on Airster. We was on LaFace, and they was on Bad Boy, but we all was on Airster. Right. So with that being said, like we hadn't seen Snoop them or Corrupt them. We knew Corrupt, but we hadn't seen all of them, their whole family in the flesh. We hadn't seen all the Wu-Tang in the flesh. Like that was the first time we got to see everybody in the flesh in the same room. And to tell you the truth, during that time, all of us were kids, all of us were young, full of energy kind of cats. And it was like being in a prison yard with all different kind of like personalities and strengths and different groups. That's what it was like, because it was like all of us going there and saying who was the best that year. You know what I mean? Like you got 69 Boys doing Tootsie Roll. You got so much going on during that night that you got the emergence of the South. You got the West Coast wanting their respect. You got New York wanting to have, you wanted Brooklyn to get their respect for Bad Boy Harlem. Like it was, everybody just wanted their flowers. And I think, but what it really did, it made us go back home and say, okay, if they don't respect us now, they're going to respect us after we finish this. They're going to respect us, because when we go back home, we're not going to stop making music until we don't have no competition. And that's what we did.
And this, thank you. This precedes the release of Soul Food just by a few months, I believe, that award show. And you're describing it like a prison yard. It's like a bunch of hostility. How were people looking at each other? Was people sizing each other up? What was that like? Because I know Big Boy and Andre 3000 were like almost booed a bit when they won the award. Like they weren't received well at that moment. And how did you guys?
Well, nobody was at that time. You know, I think nobody was at that time. I think we was feeling a certain type of way after we left, and we had a platinum album. They had a platinum album, you know what I mean? Biggie them left feeling a certain type of way. The West Coast left feeling a certain type of way. Wu-Tang from Staten Island left feeling a certain type of way. You know, a lot of people, I think we all just kind of grew up that day, because it was almost like we all talented. But one thing about it, you gotta beat the best to say you the best. You just can't say you the best. And when you look at, when we came back home, we made it a point to say, hey man, we gonna make music that nobody can put a ceiling on. We gonna do things that nobody doing. We never followed what nobody else was doing, and we never wanted to be nobody else but us. We just wanted our lifestyle, the way we do it, to be what the reason why we in the room. Not that we in here trying to sound like New York or trying to sound like the West Coast. We want to sound like us. And I think with that attitude, that is the reason why Atlanta, to this day, 20 years later, still the biggest market in hip hop, and you cannot stop it. Because at the end of the day, when we came back home, we raised our children. Everybody else, they just wanted it for themselves. That's why their cities died.
Thank you for that. That's a wide view, and I appreciate that. It gives us a lot to think about. And one of the things we think about immediately after that, I believe that was August '95 when the Source Awards happened. Is that right? About August? So So a couple months later, another emerging talent from the Dungeon family from Atlanta's Sound, which it was a step forward or different direction in sound, because we had Shy D, you had different groups who was from Atlanta representing more with the bass music. But then we have Soul Food from Goodie Mob. And you touched on it earlier, but cell therapy. Y'all were talking beyond the time, and you really captured a lot of people. I can remember some of my classmates in college, and it just attracted everybody. Like the revolutionary thinkers I went to college with, the Mexican kids, the Black kids, people who were like forward thinking beyond generic and commercial knowledge. People who were thinking ahead was like so into especially cell therapy, as I believe that was the first track.
First song.
First single from the album. And so talk a bit about that. What inspired you to even think about that? Because a lot of people will be like, well, what are they even talking about? A lot of people, a bunch of people were on the same page with you. So what inspired cell therapy as you brought it out?
Well, as you know, Soul Food, the album was not just about cell therapy. It was about a lot of things. It was about a lifestyle, the Southern lifestyle. But specifically that record, the reason why we came with that record, let's talk about how the first time you ever heard myself, you heard me on a song called Get Up, Get Out and Get Some with Outkast.
New Jersey
the other
Drive.
Two brothers, Cujo and Timo, was on Call of the Wild. If you think about the combination of those two records, that became cell therapy. Not that we tried to, it was just that Organized Noise was in the studio mixing some records, and they ran across Busta Rhymes, and Busta Rhymes was reading this book, and Busta Rhymes gave this book to Big Rube, and Big Rube brought this book back to the house, back to the dungeon, called Behold of the Pale Horse. We all read that book, and in the next couple of days, we were called to the studio. And when we first heard that actual beat, that's when Cujo laid the hook. When Cujo laid the hook in the first verse, the story is over. We had read the book, and we used whatever we got out of that book. We took it and we made that verse specifically about the information and how we interpreted that book. And my interpretation of that book was the verse that I put down on Cell Therapy.
Wow. And that's, of course, the masterful book by William Cooper, who rests in peace. But a very powerful book.
That was one of the reasons why. That was one of the reasons why we used that book. And when you think about it, when we read that book, it was so many different things around here. It was like, I remember this movie with Rowdy Piper in it, when it was talking about, the people that you could see once you put the glasses on. You got to look at a lot of things that we were starting to talk about. They was putting in movies, even, it was another movie where it was talking about the people who was living under the city. Like, so many different movies and so many interpretations of that book was in kind of like popular culture. But at the same time, when we started talking about that and it started growing, it seemed like those kind of interpretations started leaving popular culture. Mm-hmm. They stopped talking about the Illuminati. They stopped talking about that there was these other forces that run the world. Well, now we all know it's all true, right? Mm-hmm. Now we get to see it's all true. Everything we talked about is all true. The computer chip that they wanted to put in you is all true. So if everything damn near that this man said in this book is damn near the truth, like we lived it. We have personally all been in the house in a quarantine. You cannot go outside. The black helicopters out there, the police, the armed forces in your city. We got to see everything that he talked about in the book. So if we've gotten to see that everything that he talked about in that book became true, then what's going to happen to the world in 20 more years?
That's the question. That's the vision. I guess with imagination. Go ahead. You gonna say something?
What's gonna happen? Everything that they say is gonna happen.
Who is
Society is going. Society will collapse sooner or later. Sooner or later, society will collapse. You will have to go back to the beginning. You will have to live off the land again. You will have to turn around and create a new government with new people and new powers in charge. Because as you see, I tell you this now, even the three-headed monster that he talked about in that book, who is the three-headed monster right now? Bill Gates owns the internet. Jeff Bezos, Amazon. Elon Musk, the new mind to space. Now, what are they all doing? They all moving to what? Texas. When they all move to Texas, they all can create a what? A new currency, because now the three biggest and the richest people, and also Bill Gates is the biggest landowner of the United States. Now, what's the next part of that? The stock market is going to crash. The NASDAQ is going to crash. Why? Because they're going to relocate all the money to Texas. And sooner or later, they're going to move the stock market back to Texas, where it started. Because you can only have a stock market when you have land, gold, and oil, all in Texas. New York will become Mayberry. California will soon be empty. It will be a new city and a new state that will soon become its own country, because all of the real money and the people who runs everything from transportation and foods, the computer system, and now space is in one state.
You're hearing it here first, y'all. You're hearing the headlines right here. We're going deep, and I appreciate it. I like the depth of thought. Now help our viewers out real quick, Big Gipp. You say people say they, what they say, they. Who are some of the sources, or where would you direct people to get some of the knowledge that you're speaking and some of the ideas that you're sharing right now? Like, where's the people?
I would say, just like your grandmama told you, follow the money.
Okay.
Follow the money. One thing we learned during the pandemic, that if those trucks stop running, everybody from rich people to poor people would not have food. Why were they storing food in the mountains? Because rich people who owned those properties started to store food in case of a government fall. Okay, so let's think about this. The systems and how it's going to run and where the food is going to go and what's going to happen if it goes all the way to the other side has already been put in place. The first part of the pandemic, that was a trial run to see if people would go for it. Well, they did. The second phase, the only man that's been talking about world vaccinations and decreasing world populations is Bill Gates for 10 years straight. The same man, Mr. Fauci, that's up here talking to me about a virus is the same man that was doing studies on this virus. Simple and plain to me.
Well, and you're using the critical view as well, because some people just eat up whatever they see, whatever's on the plate, they're going to eat it all without even discriminating and looking at it critically. So,
well, you know, I mean, at the same time, too, you know, it's like this, man. Like what they say all the time. The government just told you it's UFOs, right?
Right. Just now.
They been here, right?
Right.
So, but I got uncles, I got fathers, I got a lot of people that's been in the military that's been told you that UFOs are real. Why would the human race be so arrogant to think that they're the only ones here? And we still can't build a pyramid that's been there for billions of years. which tells you that it's somebody else and other people have been here. So you gotta understand that I look at things for what they are. I don't look at the TV a lot. You know what I mean? I was raised by mother, father. My grandmothers were full-blooded Cherokees. So the way I was raised was not conventional. We been knew that the government killed King in Georgia because Georgia is the biggest power source for anybody of color. This is the biggest place for colored people. This is the only place in America that colored people have real power, is in Atlanta, Georgia. Reason why is because a black man built the airport. And when he built that airport, he made sure that 30% of all business that goes through that airport will go to the black community. That's why so many prominent black families in Georgia. That's why they can't come around in Georgia and push these people around. It's not like New York, not like California. It's nothing nobody has ever seen before unless you came here. This is actually really Wakanda. This is really the Wakanda that they talk about in the movies. Yeah. I have grown up with affluent black people all my life. I've seen rich black people all my life. I've never went to school with nobody else but black people all my life. So my experience in the world is totally different than a lot of my brothers and sisters that ain't lived in this country, because I grew up in the place of King. As children, we knew that what King did for us, we had to implement that plan. That's why you had Herman J. Russell in Georgia that damn near built Atlanta, a black man. You had Bronner Brothers, who was the biggest black hair company in the United States. Also, you had Madam J. The Madam. She came here. Yes. Her first radio station was on Auburn Avenue. Her first office, King office, was right next door. That's the history of Atlanta. That's the reason why when I got in the music business and motherfuckers wanted me to be deceitful and evil and all that, I didn't have to be, because I was already used to people having something. So I didn't have to snake my brother. Why do you think the Dungeon family is the only family that's all of us is still alive? It's because the music we made, man. The vibration we put in the earth, in the world. Think about all them people that made all that gangster shit, man, all them vibrations they put in the world. Mm-hmm. Think about all those that might be sitting at the top that all they came up off set telling people to sell drugs. I never said those things in my music, and I still survive. But I'm only a few. It's only a few of me. When you got a dude like Andre 3000 that could be as big as Jay-Z or Eminem or anybody, he'll walk away from the game. Because we don't do it for fame or money. We did it for the people. So when it turns into everything is corporate, man, my people will just say, hey, man, I got enough money. I could just walk away and live a regular life. That's the difference between the Dungeon family and everything else in the music business. It's because of our upbringing and the people we saw in Atlanta coming up as kids. It's like we always got to see powerful images. I don't go in my music and talk about drug dealers that I seen or gangbangers. We never elevated them type people in Georgia. So when that type of energy come here, we be like, oh, that's kind of like, we don't do that. We don't do that. You know what I mean? So when you say, why the Dungeon family make that kind of music? Because we've always been inspired and always seen the best of us, not the worst. So when the music business wanted us to make the worst, we cool. And guess what? That's why when we recorded Soul Food in Curtis Mayfield house. Curtis Mayfield told me, he said, Gipp, never sell your publishing unless you leave in the game. That sweatsuit I'm wearing on Soul Food, that's Curtis Mayfield's sweatsuit.
So if Curtis Mayfield said, Gipp, never sell your publishing until you're ready to retire from the game, do you think that makes the new game of streaming and publishers, you think that make them happy? No. But guess what? We own everything we ever recorded. I bet you a lot of superstars out here that say they superstars, they don't own nothing. We own everything we record.
Let me see. You going so far. It says so much, and there's so many tidbits here. And I'm gonna try to catch three things. One thing, Big Gipp referenced the film with Roddy Piper and Keith David. It's called They Live. It's John Carpenter's film, so people might want to reference that. And people who have not seen it, it's definitely a classic. I agree, and I enjoy that. And I mentioned New Jersey Drive, but I was thinking of Benz or Beamer, and Get Up, Get Out is on Outkast's album. So I wanted to just make sure I'm not looking like I don't know what I'm talking about. Now, you said there's only a few artists I know, music artists, recording artists, who own their own publishing and own their catalogs. Only a few who did it from the gates. How did you guys do that from the gates? How did you know to do that? Who's your advisor? Who was your manager? A lot of people lack somebody to advise them on that.
Curtis Mayfield.
Oh, Curtis Mayfield. He advised you before you signed the deal with Arista, before you went into this?
As we were recording that Soul Food in his house.
Okay.
When we was recording Soul Food in his house, he was like, yo, it's cool to be the artist, but also learn how to turn the buttons. Also learn how to learn the business. And let me tell you about the business. Always own your publishing. Always know what your writers is. Always protect that. That's what you're gonna live off of for the rest of your life. And even I remember when we first went gold, they came and sat down with us. Yo, publishing deal, and we was like, no. And they was like, oh, y'all didn't take the money? Like, no. If we just knew better. And guess what? To be right now, own all of our shit on Outkast, all our shit together, it's like, shit, bro, this is what you go out with. Like, this is your real treasure to your kids. Not somebody else owning it. Not somebody else going and getting the money. No, you own it. So now if something happened to Gipp tomorrow, my kid will always be able to go and get her daddy money. Just smarter. It's like this. It's like, I take this slow money. Y'all can have the fast money.
And it's still trickling right now.
And I'm good, man. I'm good.
Let me ask you this real quick, just because I know the record labels who I worked with in the past, and I was there when your album came out. What did they say when you were like, we want to own our masters and our product? Like, how did they respond to that? Because I know they don't include that as a gift for you. They want to own that.
We became what you always gonna become when you smart. You're a problem. You know?
Mm-hmm.
You're a problem. We was always a problem. You know what I mean? Because we knew more than the average artist. You know what I mean? Why you think these artists so fucking smart now in Atlanta? Why you think these artists getting so much? No artist in Atlanta signing for nothing less than $3 million. That's every artist. Out the trap. Out the strip club. You know what I mean? Some of these artists getting $5-6 million, man. And then when you in Atlanta, bro, that's all you need to be rich forever.
Man.
You go buy you 2-3 houses, get you something, man. You get you 3-4 houses with $400,000-$500,000. That's what trips me out. Is like, these young kids here, I don't know how it is in other cities, but here, bro, you can go to anybody. You got Rick Ross over here owning 300 acres. We own 100, 200 acres. Other Outkast own. It's everybody, the kids, the Migos, everybody just understands economics here. You know what I mean? So even if the system breaks down, people gonna be like, cool, bro. that's one thing that Atlanta artists always got from the industry. Like, y'all hard, because once y'all get some money, y'all ain't tripping. No, we not tripping. We don't need all the money in the world to live. And I think that's the trap of fame. That's the trap of money. That's the trap of the industry. When you just got to live your life thinking you got to be famous. Everybody don't want to be Kanye West. Everybody don't want to say they number one. Like, that's always been a New York thing. Like, do you know that we in the dungeon have never battled each other? Never. We don't even make them kind of raps. Like, you know what I mean? I be thinking about when all that East-West shit was going on and everybody back and forth rapping and going, we was sitting there the whole time like, we don't even understand this shit because fuck all the talking. Let's get to it. You know what I mean? We don't do no rapping on no music. Like, life too real. When we was really from a lifestyle, so when we got into it, it was all about trying to tell our brothers to lead that lifestyle, be better, be a better person. And we looked around and we watched everybody get rich off giving people the worst. When our heroes was Bob Marley, our heroes was, you know what I mean? He made a living and made the best music off being good. And look at the game now. It's like you've taken all the heroes out of it and you've made it all about kids talking a whole bunch of gangster shit. Computer thugs. And everybody getting killed. And you got the elders sitting around like, how are these kids getting all this money? It's because they got streaming. We never had streaming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They got streaming. You know what I mean? So when you got streaming, you got a kid that coming in, he might sign for 3-4 million, might get a streaming check for 400,000, might get a publishing check for another couple of million. Man, they spending millions like thousands now. So when you look at the game and what the game is, I'm just like this. Understand this though. The streaming business really is about one record, right? But what about the masterpiece of the album? That's what makes your career long. That's what gives you longevity. A single, that's a season. And hey, man, everybody can't beat Drake. If you ask me, that motherfucker is one of the best that ever did it. You know what I mean? It's like, God damn, I've seen nobody stay hot that long.
Drake or Drake?
Drake. I mean,
okay.
If you think about his streaming situation of where when the world changed over from CDs to streaming, his success and his range of being able to get to more people at a shorter amount of time has been incredible. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? The streaming service is made where he's like Michael Jackson in Japan or India. And it's like, when we came in, it was no way to be that big. You couldn't, you know what I mean? So that's all. Like the greatest thing about streaming, the kids are making millions like water. As long as they take care of their money, they're going to be fine. I don't know if they have a long career outside of in touring, outside of the big stages, because most of those big stages are now owned by the record companies and the streaming services, because that's a way for them to get their money back. So one thing that makes Goodie Mob and Outkast and those groups that made during those times is that you had to go to the chitlin circuit. You had to go to the country. You had to go to the smallest stages and work all the way up. Now these kids coming in and they standing at the loud stage with 20,000, 50,000. I mean, and they ain't never been to the neighborhood. So that's the reason why during the pandemic, outside of the music, I switched over to the CBD, knowing that Georgia is about to go into the THC. I got in business with 3Cs about 3 years ago. I got a call from them. They were like, come to California. You want to get into the THC business? We're doing the real Moon Rock. They was also partners with Corrupt. Yeah. So I already knew them because Corrupt was the first person to show me a Moon Rock. I was on the Moon Rock first. I was on his first Moon Rock mixtape. So that's how I even got introduced to this new world of cannabis through Corrupt. And these were his partners. They split. They went one way, Corrupt went another way. They called me like, Gipp, you want to get involved? I was like, cool. Well, during the pandemic, I couldn't move, couldn't go back to California. So I said, okay, all the ideas that we got for the actual THC line, let's just change it into CBD. And since I'm home, we can really move out here. Let me just try that and see how it works. Well, we put it out there and it just took off in a month, 2 months. We in like 18, 19 spots in the city. And we just opened up a new store down in Columbus, Georgia, that's been open about 2 or 3 months now. We've been doing great. The grand opening was a success. It was crazy. And now we're just looking to just build the company just outward. You know, like we're watching and we saluting the leaders of this shit. Of course, to be real, I am a soul assassin and part of the soul assassins from the South. So be real, yes, sir. And then on the other side, we have to salute Burner, you know, for being the actual. They're the leaders of this thing, and they really out there, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, me personally being around Cypress Hill for 20 years, you know, they always had the shit. You know what I mean? They always had the smoke. But
right.
you know what I mean? To see what Burner did with his thing up out of the Bay, man, you know, it's great to see two good guys winning at a business that a lot of us had to go to jail for, lose years for it, and some of us have died for it. So for two good people and two good-hearted people to be leading the charge, man, it's good to see that. And I'm just gonna try my best to make sure that if it comes, when it opens up in Atlanta and when it opens up in the South, that my brand's so big, you got to talk to me, you know, because a lot of these people don't know how to do West Coast weed anyway. So you're going to need a connoisseur like myself to tell you what's good and bad, or you're going to be buying CBD.
Yeah. And let me extend the congratulations to you. And it's Gipp Goodies is the company y'all want to look for. Gipp Goodies been working behind the scenes for several years now and has just started its public launch down in Atlanta, in Georgia. And so congratulations on your entrepreneurship. And before we go further into that, because I want to talk more about you know, your strategy, your business strategy, entrepreneurship. You talking about Atlanta, just for as a note for our viewers, you know, Atlanta had a unique design as a city that most cities can't even claim, because there was an agreement, I believe in the 50s, between members of the white community and members of the black community, where they agreed Atlanta would almost operate as its own state within the state of Georgia. And it was totally open and integrated during the time in the most racist region of the country for commerce, for business, where black people could be welcome and be in pivotal, privileged, powerful positions alongside, you know, white people competitively. And so, you know, that is totally unique and something I didn't grow up seeing, but I grew up hearing it because some of my friends from Atlanta, you could tell just the way they carry themselves. There was almost like when you meet some Caribbean people who have an identity about themselves, a pride about themselves, it's different than even a lot of us in the United States have. Is a something that makes your back stand up straight.
Yeah.
Being from you know, I saw that commonly among a lot of Atlanta ATLians and all the Atlanta folks. So that's something unique. And before we, you know, move forward, I just want to make that a note, because I don't think people know that. That's why Atlanta's the Hollywood right now, and everybody's moving to Atlanta. So I want to talk a bit about that too, and how that's changing the landscape. I remember T.I. recently had a public comment because people coming down to Atlanta acting like they ain't got no sense, and some violent waves happening. I wanted to get your idea on that. Before we get to that real quick, I did want to touch on something. It's almost Mother's Day, and I didn't want to leave the Soul Food album before I just concluded with this question or commentary from you on the track Guess Who? Not everybody, I mean, Tupac made a song about his mama. Some people make songs about their mama, but y'all made Guess Who? And talk a bit about that track really quick, if you could.
That track right there was really a song for our mothers, because doing the making of soul food, man, it was different instances. You know, we was wild back then, man. So, you know, if you listen to my verse, I'm talking about how my mother had to come get me because my father was like, nah, I'm gonna leave you there. And it really proved us, even all four of us, our mothers are real strong. My mother went to Clark University. My mother is a Clark University graduate. You know what I mean? So my mother was kind of different. She was from the country, and at the same time, she was book smart. And my father, he was from Alabama, also a soldier, and also worked for UPS. So with that kind of thing that was going on, it was kind of, our mothers played a big role in our music, because even when it came down to the dungeon, it was like Rico mama let 20 guys be in her house all that time playing music with her daughters going to high school, and never trip because she felt like they gonna make it. And that's why we made Guess Who, because he was like, bro, even if the world against you, man, your mama usually ain't gonna turn against you, man, unless you done did some real foul shit. So it was our way of just saying, man, always cherish your mother, man. And because, I mean, when you need help and you need somebody to come to your rescue, I mean, you ain't got to guess who when it comes to her. She coming.
Thank you, because that's one of my favorite songs all time, and I just appreciate y'all making it. Appreciate you sharing, you know, your thoughts behind that song. And I think, you know, you talking about Atlanta, the entrepreneurial nature and the business nature of the people in that city. With Gipp Goodies.
Mm-hmm.
What's the market like in Atlanta? Like how are you guys ahead of the game, or like is it everybody?
Man, we know, can't nobody mess with us, man. Like, can't nobody mess with what we doing out here, man. Like, this is Master Kush. Okay, what we did was, and his name is Tony Acuna, man. Me and Tony during the pandemic, he said, what would you want yours to look like, Gipp? I said this. I told him what I wanted to put it in, and he put the extras on it. And hey, man, we have a product that people love out here, man. I got 7 different flavors of this. I got this pain cream called No More Pain. I can't keep this on the shelf. If you got aches, you got pains, you got nervous damage, go take a shower and put this on you. It's gone in 15, 20 minutes. I got people getting that from the hospital. I got CBD serum for women. I got body butter for women. You know, and like for me, it's just gonna keep going with products. We only been open for what, 4 months, and we already on about 17 products. They all got our name on it. So for me, the culture and the interest from the people in Atlanta is astronomical. Everybody is happy about this. Everybody's over the pill revolution. Everybody's tired of taking pills, from the older people to the young people. Everybody wants other kind of forms of medicine. And I feel like we are providing that for them. We're providing that from topicals to tinctures to actual smoke to oil. So with me, we're keeping ours straight medicinal. We don't have no loose stuff in our stores. We have no hookahs. We have nothing even representing recreational. The only reason I'm in this is because of my father not telling me that he had cancer. And once I started bringing him some RSO oil from California and some of the different things that started treating him, it started making him eat, but he was already too far gone, you know, so I lost my father. So with that being said, this just gave me another dedication and another place to put my energy into helping people find new ways of healing themselves, because we see now, you know, it's the first time that we ever seen a medical company sued by the government because they knew that they were selling nothing but death. You know what I mean? So with that being said, we have to go back to the old ways. See, where I'm from, a lot of times people didn't have money to go to the doctor. So a lot of my people are Black, and most of my elders, they're full-blooded Cherokees. So a lot of them didn't take us to the doctor. I've been getting cannabis oil since I was a child. We didn't go to the doctor. We got castor oil. Right. you know what your grandmama give you, you know. So, you know, like, we didn't go to the doctor. Mama went and got cough syrup. what y'all sipping now. You know what I mean? So there's so many ways that we was able to heal ourselves, and we lived a lot longer. So how were we able to heal ourselves, medicate ourselves? We lived a lot longer, and the more and more we integrated into what we call the American way, we die sooner. Mm-hmm. Something ain't right. That means it's a design. When we go that way, it's designed for us to die. So it's like the biggest thing that they don't want in the world is for people to live longer. If you live longer, you can see through the lie.
Right. If you survive it, and
if you survive it, you get to see the light. You get to see that this shit is the Wizard of Oz, and it is somebody sitting behind the curtain doing this to every part of this country. You got people who strictly own the media. You got people who strictly own entertainment, strictly own sports. And all these entities want all the superstars to shut up. Just dribble, shut up. Why you got to be political? Because if you stay and everybody continues to shut up, and why did we take the money? I thought Jay-Z went and took the money with the NFL. I thought wasn't supposed to be no more killers after Jay-Z went to go see it. Right. I guess that don't mean shit no more, don't it? Because the police out here still going off. So there it is again, bro. It shows you that either you a part of that or you choose to be a mutant and a renegade like myself and you live outside of that. If Bob Marley would have lived, I think he would have never took no shot. He not talking to nobody. He not doing nothing extra. And he just sitting on the alley smoking his weed, waiting for the next redemption song.
Yeah.
For the cool people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When I think about stuff, I'm like, man, I'm telling you, bro, like the heroes, you got to remember the shit that they went through, man. Like this superstar ass shit now, they'd be like, yo, man, like this ain't even music. This is theater. We got people that don't write their raps. We got people that the record company gives them all the songs to sing. It's like it ain't even real no more. It's programming.
Well, let's shift gears into that really quick. And I wanted to thank you for sharing the story of Gipp Goodies and what you're doing with the company. And let people know really quick. And I'll put a note in at the end of the show of how people can reach out and find out more about your product. Is it only able to be bought? Can you ship it anywhere? Or is it only?
Yeah. Go to www.gippgoodies.com. You can see everything in the store. It can be shipped all over the United States. And that's the greatest thing about this is that this keeps me safe, man. CBD keeps me safe. See, the THC into the world goes where it's free. I can't mess with it. I got prior. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's the reason I say I'm glad to just be in the medical part of it, because my thing is to take this CBD company and turn it into a medicinal company, a pharmaceutical company. Because one thing we do not have is a pharmaceutical company that represents people of color.
Right.
I think people of color, our makeup, our blood, everything about us is different. Yeah. So it should be different people that handles different people. But when you just use everybody and then you tell everybody, well, hey, you can't sue nobody now. You might die, you might get blood clots, your eyes might fall out, but you can't sue nobody. Until we have our own, we have to trust that word. And as history tells us, and as the Tuskegee experiment tells us,
come on.
Usually when they tell you something safe, about 20 years, they're going to show you where it's not.
Yeah. Well,
Go ahead. It's crazy because we're asked to trust a vaccine that they came up with for months, but you ain't got a cure for AIDS, a cure for cancer, and a cure for goddamn diabetes. But I'm supposed to, and I ain't never took a flu shot. I've never taken a flu shot. So am I supposed to go and let you put a vaccine in me? that my immune system should be strong enough to handle. And guess what? That particular, this vaccine and also this COVID-19, understand that this shit was played with to intensify 19 times. So that means that the world will have to have been flipped over 20-some times for this actual virus to make it to this strength. So that means that this is man-made. Hey, man, if it's man-made, why I'm gonna put it in me? Because Magic Johnson then showed you that ain't no, they got a cure for AIDS. Hold up.
Come on. Yeah. That's the kind of, if I ever end up with AIDS, that's the kind I want, man. I remember when that was a death sentence. You remember when AIDS was a death sentence?
Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. Now we talk about COVID. They said you got them, you a die, you catch AIDS. But you telling me about COVID. Man, come on, man. Come on, man. All right.
what you're talking about is totally, you know, and I wanted to say peace be upon your father too, as he inspired your career, you know, to shift in your company. I think that's a powerful story too. We want to send peace to your family and your dad, resting in peace. I wanted to ask, well, I wanted to mention that, you know, you talk about COVID and people, you know, there's just so many. I practice caution and courtesy with other people and myself, and not trying to expose, you know, myself or other people to anything. But it strikes me very loudly and very poignantly that the scientists and the medical professionals do not have a grip on this thing, and they're just handing out vaccines. Like they don't have a source of it, and they don't have a solution for it. And it's like a guess. You know, here's the vaccine. This is our guess to see if this will work. I don't. Especially you mentioned Tuskegee. We always want to acknowledge our ancestors and not forget that. Tuskegee, the women who were inoculated orally in Puerto Rico, who were sterilized through that.
Yes.
The Congo, where they believe AIDS started, and they inoculated thousands of villagers. And that's where the Ebola and AIDS originate from that area, experimenting on, you know, innocent. This is just the reading people have to do beyond the reading that you're talking about.
Hey, I tell people like this. I just looked at a clip of a rich family doing an interview in Europe. And they asked the family, they said, "Are y'all taking the vaccine?" They said, "Do you see what that stuff's doing to the people in Africa?" See, the difference between the United States and being in Europe. When you're in Europe, you can see everything plainly for what it is, because you're dealing with the queen. Africa has always been the continent that Europeans have raped in all kinds of situations, from gold to power to everything. And that's also the place that they go and they test vaccines. And like you said, the Congo, Ebola, everything. It's always, they go to Africa and they go to some small village and they trick motherfuckers into doing something, and they sit back like motherfucking fools and they watch people either die or have or develop some crazy shit. So you gotta understand, man, like, if this shit is still going on, and also let's think about this. Bill Gates has been kicked out of a few countries in Africa, and it's not to return because of the damage of the vaccine. So understand that the real news and the real shit on a lot of things, we can't even get it because we only watch this shit over here, this program for you to just watch black people and cops go at it all day. Right. You know what I mean? This is really what's going on in the United States. They're keeping people fixated on going at each other just off of what they let Trump do. Trump, hey man, I'd rather deal with somebody telling me they don't like me than somebody acting like they don't like me.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm just saying. I'm not like, at least I know where I stand, but I don't know where I stand with Biden. You came in here and signed all kind of crazy shit that I don't have nothing to do with, right? Yeah. And you just told black people, if you don't get voted, you ain't black. So, you know, I know my Latino people, I know they like, well, shit, you got our vote down here on the goddamn border, locked up with kids, separated from their parents. You can't give a fuck about us. You know what I mean? So when I look at all the minorities, I got to say, hey, man, we better get smart in a minute. We better stop fighting each other. The brown and the black supposed to be together. I don't care what the fuck going on. Because we always the ones that's either the victims are the ones gonna get goddamn, they gonna slaughter. Right. So the smartest of us got to at least be friends and understand what's going on, because we the ones can go back to our community and say, yo, man, everybody ain't bad. Bro, they ain't got no problem. They ain't got no problem. At least the smart people start understanding that if you look at everything that's going on, it's always us dying. It's never them. And when I saw something the other day, I said, hey, man, you know, if these were white kids around here getting shot like this, hey, man, it would not be happening, man. Mm-mm. So we got to understand that there's something that's going on in America that we're the targets. It's a group of people that's saying, go kill motherfuckers. And there's other people that's saying, don't. But at the same time, you got to understand that it is a certain air out here in this world that if they don't get control of this, you're not going to be able to pull it back. If you want the purge, you're going to get the purge. But understand that I know that most Latino and Black kids come up in a different world than most white kids. Yeah. And I know that most of us, we born in war. So yeah. I don't know if y'all really want the purge, man, because you're going to get something that you're not going to be able to stop, man. It's going to be the biggest blowback in American history, man.
I'm glad you referenced that. We were talking about these social issues and just thinking beyond the surface. But I wonder, since you referenced the purge, did you see the first purge, the one when they were up in Shaolin, up in Staten Island? What'd you think about that? That really touched me more than all the purges, because I said, this looks like this is something I could see this happening.
Because if you think about it, it could truly happen. Because think about how many people who call themselves separating themselves into their own little rich little communities. Mm-hmm. If somebody was to kill everybody on the island, wouldn't nobody know for a couple of days. But you know, look what's going on. They're making everybody so scared to be around each other, depend on each other. They're breaking society down to where nobody trusts nobody and everybody's the enemy. Mm. That means that once you get society like that, it only takes a few to run. It only takes a few to run the whole board. And guess what? Only 10 people got rich in the pandemic, and they were all friends of Bill Gates. So who do you think all those 10 people got paid on the mask, on the gloves, on the tissue, on the food, come on, man. That shit was a big game. And the only ones that can't play the games with are the computer guys, the tech guys, because they get money every day. So it's a war between fascists and a war between those that want to be free. And it's another person that's sitting in the middle that wants to control them all. You got to remember now, when you got stuff like the Queen, the only place in the world that is a queen is in Europe. Why is that? The world would change once the monarchy falls. Once there's no more queen, that's when the real change in the world gonna happen.
What do you foresee?
It's gonna become like the movies. It's gonna become where people gonna have to protect their land, because it's sooner or later they're gonna take the police off the street, because they're gonna find out that the police is down there full of goddamn nationalists. Mm-hmm. They full of skinheads. That's who the police is. You had a man go right in downtown Nashville up and blow up the biggest money-making strip in Nashville, and it went quiet. Why? Because it's a war going on between white men.
Mm. Well, you're hearing it right here, y'all. Big Gipp, and he gave a strategy. Black and brown need to stay down with each other. I don't know. I don't even comprehend.
And I don't want to even just leave it like that. It's like it's some good brothers of all color, man. Good
That's right.
Sisters of all color, man. Of all color. Right. Good people. Good comes in all color.
And evil.
You just got to keep your glasses on.
Right.
You got to keep your glasses on. And you got to look at this. A person that means you no harm help you without asking for something.
Right. Right.
And that comes in all colors.
That's right. That's right. And
That's love.
I didn't mean to narrow down your vision, because I know you rap about a worldly perspective. But I was just saying, I know when we were referencing who gets the worst.
That's the truth, though. That's the truth. But always know that we always had allies.
Right. Right.
Always had allies, man. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's a good folk out there, man. Good folk out there, man, that don't mean you no harm and to take care of you and hide you. You gotta remember, man, shit, Harriet Tubman didn't do it by herself now.
That's right. That's
you know
right.
what I mean? Like, there was some good folks say, hey, man, goddamn, y'all got the barn for the night. Just keep it moving in the morning so where everybody don't get in trouble. Yeah. Right. You know what I mean?
That's right. Yeah, no, respect. People got to remember the Underground Railroad. All these, a bunch of white people who helped, you know, good people, period. And good people. Some people who look like us who told on us too. So
yeah, it is.
You know, and I say, let me say this too. As you're talking about, you know, the depth of thought and you know, your philosophy and your ideology. You mentioned, you know, I want to kind of shift real quick to your hip hop perspective, because you're talking about, you know, people aren't even writing their own lyrics. You know, I want to get your idea on that. And it looks like we may have lost Big Gipp's visual for a moment. Let's see if he comes back here.
Hello.
Okay. So if you can hear me, I'll keep talking. You can hear me. I was just trying to see, you know, what is your, give me a quick state of the hip hop address, or it doesn't have to be quick, but give me your state of hip hop address. Like, where are we at with our culture and our art form that we've been working on since 1973, and before that with James Brown, all led up to us right now?
Well, I say this. Hip hop now is pop music. Hip hop now is pop music. It's no more pop music. It's no more pop music. It's no more rock bands. It's the whole world is hip hop. So right now, hip hop is the driving force behind it even being a music business. Mm-hmm. And with that being said, they want hip hop to be a lot younger so they can control it. They want hip hop to be a lot. It's cool if you're smarter because it's more money to be involved, but it's about what you're smart about. You know, are you gonna be smart enough to know not to take all the money, just take a little bit? Will you sell your life and 20 years later you won't have nothing because you sold your life at 20 years old? Mm. So hip hop is a place right now that is very, very corporate. A lot of money. It's like the NBA, NFL right now. But at the same time too, I think that we have to hold on to some of the people that's keeping the true hip hop form alive. You have to give it up to
who? Hold on, you cut out.
You have to give it up to I like Griselda. You have to give it up to them cats. You have to give it up to DJ Muggs. You have to give it up to the people that like to organize noise, the people that like to keep the raw shit. I'm talking about the artist, the producer, and let's go in here and make great music.
Hold on, you're a little muffled. I don't know if your hand's on the mic, but you're a little muffled there, Big Gipp.
Hold on, right quick.
You are. You sound great right now. That's great. Okay. So you had mentioned DJ Muggs, Griselda, a few people who you look to still as keeping the culture alive.
Mm-hmm. Also, and I got to give it to this too, man, and we got to give it to this. Every new genre that's been made and created, damn now, the hip hop has really kind of like come from Atlanta. So when you start thinking about Future, you start thinking about 2 Chainz, you start thinking about 21 Savage, G's, you know, like a lot of the things these kids are doing that. I'm even looking at the new emergence of Soulja Boy. He got a new hit record. Like, that dude is responsible for a lot of this shit that's going on.
Yeah.
A lot of it. You know, he is the originator. I don't care what they say. He is the originator of this brand of hip hop that is just like, it's no lines to it. You know, it's kind of all emotion. It's kind of like all feeling. You know what I mean? It's not about trying to be the best. I'm just trying to tell you how I feel.
Right.
So I'm with all that. But I'm saying this to all artists, and this is something that the greats pose to me. If you left tomorrow, do you think you did your greatest work?
Mm-hmm.
If you left tomorrow, did you leave the best of you in the world? Or did you leave the worst of you?
Mm.
See, most people leave and never get a chance to change. If you had the chance and you still here, do something more with your career than just feeding the beast. Make sure that at least one of these records you dedicate to just the craft. Because the craft, and when you dedicate your life to hip hop, the craft, you'll find yourself, that's when you run up on classics. And that's what I be trying to tell people. I be like, yo, dude,
Hold on, we have a small technical difficulty, it looks like, with Big Gipp's audio and video, so we'll just wait a moment. Just so you know, you're tuned in to What Had Happened Was with your homeboy Jose Gutierrez Jr., Luvva J. And we're talking with Big Gipp about several different issues. Okay, are you back? Can you hear me?
I got you now. That was my mama, man. You know your mama called.
Oh, did she call? Mom call? Well, did you tell her we were talking about her?
Yeah,
tell
man,
her we were talking about her.
I gotta take that call. I don't know what she called it about, but anyway, but I would just say this to these kids out here, man, is that
Okay.
When I look at stuff like Lil Nas X, I'm not upset. I understand art, I understand passion, but I also understand that, man, he is being led to do these certain things, and that I want our artists to know, man, be responsible for your visions, be responsible for what you put out here in this world, because, you know, I watched a lot of people talk about death, and death came to them. I want the artists just to know that what you put out in the world is what you get back. So, you know, be very careful, because music is like your words. They can come true. You put enough heart on it. That means if you beg for death, death gonna find you. That's one thing that I always used to say about Tupac. I was like, man, I don't know why you talk about death so much, Charlie. I never knew why he talked about death so much, but I think he knew that. You know what I mean? And the same with Big. I never knew why that was your second album. Why you ready to die? You know what I mean? It's like, you know what I mean? Like, you put all that shit into the world, man, and I think that shit is powerful. I've just watched it be powerful, man, you know? So, you know, when you just listen to Eazy-E, like all the stuff he was talking about, and then he died from AIDS, you know what I mean? You just be like, yo, man, your words, man, the things you say can really, really come to be. So, you know, I remember times doing this shit, man, like, people don't really recognize that, man, we went 10, 15 years with no competition. No competition, bro. Like, you know, like, everybody on the West Coast, they can say, yo, that's Snoop, that's Dre, that's Quick, that's Corrupt, that's Daz. Well, over here, it's us. In New York, you might say Jay-Z and Nas and all that. Well, over here, it's us. You know what I mean? So, you know, like, shit, man, we got tired. You know, like, think about it. We was on 4 classic albums back to back. What crew got that? Our first 2, they first 2.
Yeah.
And then the rest of their shit became all their shit all classics.
Yeah.
And we was on every one of them. I was on every tour since the first Players Ball tour. I was tired. And then went and got on the road with Nelly and sold another 9 million with grills. Gold record as far as the company, Dirty NT, 8-9 million album Sweatsuit. And still did a world tour with a whole nother crew that came out in 2000 with Eminem. You know what I mean? So I've lived in 2 and 3 different eras of this shit, man. So I've seen it, bro. Like I've seen it from the top to the bottom when we was performing on a folding kitchen table, man, in the sticks in the middle of South Carolina in the backwoods, man, in cinder block clubs with one mic and a Bobby Brown mic. Remember in the 80s, everybody had one Bobby Brown mic, you know?
Yeah.
Mic, who gonna wear the Bobby Brown mic?
You got the and still standing. Man,
was one man, classic record. Like,
I was
telling everybody,
go ahead.
everything that people doing now when they were like, yo, rock star shit, this, that, and the other. It's like we did all that shit on Still Standing. We've been doing rock records. We was doing all that shit when people didn't understand it in hip hop. Now people do it because they know what they're gonna get from it. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm gonna go wear a dress because my goddamn rock star partner wore a dress and I know what kind of attention he got for it. So I'm gonna go do it too. It's like people doing shit because they know the attention it's gonna get, not because it's a raw idea and it came to them.
Right.
That's the difference between hip hop. You know what I mean? That when we was in, you couldn't watch nobody learn how to rap in front of you. You couldn't do that. You know what I mean? Like these kids really been putting out records since they could put some up on the YouTube. So for them, like that's why most of the artists now are getting in very older artists. It's like Monray, his first record, he's 28 years old. Like you looking at Nipsey Hussle was 33 years old and he was on his first record. You know what I mean? Like, and you know, I'm just thinking about all the things that it really takes to get famous out here right now. You have to give more music. Mm-hmm. It's like you got to give more. You got to have more fails than wins because you're dealing with the internet. It's like you got to think about it. It's like 4 million songs released daily.
Yeah.
All over the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So to catch motherfuckers' attention right now is the hardest thing ever. And to have something that people are even interested in is the biggest part of it. Like, I mean, motherfuckers, I mean, it's like right now you got to be weird, quirky, crazy, and got to be a killer.
Well, you know, to add to that, I wanted to add this to get your perspective real quick. And I wanted to also do a tribute and just announce, you know, talk about some of our people we admire so much who left recently, who left the planet. But I was thinking, you know, I always recount Melly Mel and how his career ended. Like you mentioned Nipsey, he's like 33, and like people were starting their career later. And there was a time in hip hop, especially in the 80s and early 90s, when people felt like I'm too old to keep rapping. Like Kumo D stopped rapping about 91, 92. Melly Mel stopped rapping 88. And these men, like you, are displaying in our interview and all your records possess knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, a whole lot of it. Mm-hmm. And I just felt like, you know, I was like, why did Melly Mel stop rapping? And it's, you know, hip hop was really young at that time, a young culture. So they probably felt like it was for the young guys to rap. But Too Short and E40 are proven with their releases, and you with the Survival Kit, you know, people still have something to say. And I think it seems like in the hip hop culture, of course, people felt like it was a young culture. Like if you're at a certain age, you got to retire, you got to quit, or you don't have nothing else to say. But people are proving that to be wrong. And so I just
I'm gonna tell you what it is and what the older guys had to learn.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing we had to learn is that we had to speed up our production, our output. The internet has made it where people consume music faster. When we used to do an album, go on the road for 2 years, then come back and do an album. You don't have
Right.
that time anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? You don't have that time. You got to put a record out, keep moving, shoot 3 or 4 videos, keep moving to the next project. You know, it's like it's systematic, and it's like, you know, I remember we used to trip about it, but I do understand, and I do think that Gucci Mane is really the creator of that. Gucci Mane was the first one that was putting out records before Wayne at a very fast pace, just album. Man, they got over 100 albums. You know what I mean? So with that being said, like, I think the industry took note. They also took note that if we get these kids, we can get more of their catalogs, mean more song streaming and more money revenue. So it makes sense at the end of the day. And also you had the great emergence of what Nas just did with Hit Boy, just got Grammy nominations. It's just what we have to do is just balance it. If we are a certain age, let's go and get kids like let's go and get Metro. Let's go and get Southside. A lot of the kids feel like you might think you might can't rap on their beats, or y'all don't like our beats. Well, that's the difference with Atlanta. We never dissed our young. We've been fucking with our young since day one. In New York, y'all stop fucking with Kane. Y'all stop fucking with Biz. Y'all stop fucking with the only people that put anybody on from New York during our time of reign was Outkast that went and got Slick Rick and put him on a record. Niggas did not do that during that time. They were so into them and like, fuck the old guard in New York. Same that was going on in LA. It was like, damn, everybody that was with NWA, we owned to death row. Right. So, but we never did that in Atlanta. It would have been great to see fucking Death Row and goddamn Ruthless Records do records. They would have ruled forever. It would have been great to see goddamn certain record companies up in New York at the time when they was hot. We all see what's going on right now. 50 Cent is the biggest renegade from New York. Because don't nobody like 50. And at least 50 gonna keep doing what 50 doing, but people don't even understand why they don't like 50. You know why they don't like 50? Because Dr. Dre did his first album, and the West Coast is the reason why 50 Cent has the power he has. Yeah. And that was a snub to New York City. Okay. All right. And that's why 50 gets no love. And we all know 50 in the G Unit was hot as fish grease, and we still was talking about somebody else on purpose.
I was just thinking about him the other day, and I said, this man been shot 9 times. You think he give a damn what anybody thinks about him? Yeah. And survive, you know?
And survive. That's why I'm like, yo, if you think about it, bro, look at the game, man. You got pop stars out here that don't do the music, don't do the rapping, don't do the singing, but they pop stars. Yeah. You got people out here that don't write none of their lyrics, and they the best in the game. So you got to look at it that you got to figure out who you are, because at least in the 90s, you had to be the best. You had to be the best in the room. You had to be the rawest, and you couldn't be no fluff. Right. And it wasn't about your jewelry. They didn't care about your jewelry. Didn't nobody even have jewelry on back then. You know what I mean? So when I look at a lot of stuff, I'm saying it's a whole bunch of theatrics. It's like these kids got a lot of records, a lot of jewelry on, a lot of money, but they can't. I can't tell you one classic album, and I ain't never went out in the street and heard these folk albums playing. Like back in that day, when you knew somebody was hot, people was in their cars driving, listening to like you heard Chronic everywhere when that shit was out, like everywhere, coast to coast. Everybody. It's like now you like, shit. This person number one. Then the next part of the week, this person number one. You were like, damn, they wasn't number one, but what, 4 days?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's like everything don't matter. It's like it's about what's the next. So with that being said, it's like, no, Gipp, I don't come from that. But what you got to do is make sure that when you do come, give people your best, because you know that when you give people real life in music, real life gonna last longer than the party. And that's just the kind of music that, you know, people don't even understand. The first time, the first people that fell in love with Goodie Mob on the West Coast The first people to bring Goodie Mob to the West Coast was Kid Frost, La Raza.
Oh,
We
how'd that happen?
performed.
Talk about that.
The OG called us, and he was like, "Yo, the Vatos love this fucking record." And he brought us to LA in 1996. And we opened up for Kid Frost for a Southsider party. Imagine that in the 90s.
Yeah,
And when LA was gang banged out.
yeah, yeah.
So that was the first time that we were introduced to the Latin community of LA was through Kid Frost. And Kid Frost is the one that took us around and introduced us to everybody. That's when I met Muggs, I met Estravino. That's when we got tattooed by Cartoon. Didn't nobody even know Cartoon then. Cartoon was still underground, you know what I mean? So yeah, man, it's always, the Mighty Brown for me, man. It's Muggs, Be Real, and Sin Dog for Gippy. Like, I was like, bro, one of my favorite groups of all time, man.
Well, that's dope. We're glad, that's a great story, and we're glad Kid Frost is recovering. I know he was hospitalized a while back and dealing with health issues. So we're glad.
Yeah.
Thanks for
He gonna
sharing that
push through.
story.
He gonna push
Uh,
through, man. Yes, sir.
well, I don't want to take your whole life up during our interview today, but I did want to just ask a couple more questions
Yeah.
and a couple more subjects. I wanted to give you a chance to say any words you have for. I mean, we you know lost Ecstasy, Shabadoo,
Mhm.
Prince Marky D. Um, recently DMX and Black Rob and uh, man, I think somebody else just passed away too.
Shock G, King. Shock
Who's
G.
that? Who?
Shock G.
Shock. Man. I mean,
Yeah.
do you have any reflections you'd like to share on these people and the
Oh
preciousness of
man.
life?
Oh man. Shock G has been with us since we've been seeing Shock D. We was a fan of Digital Underground. Like that was just, if you think about during that time when everybody was so gangster, he was just such a colorful character. He was just such, all about art, all about the just music, the funk, and his whole presentation was just different. And he brought us pop. So Shock G has been a part of my life for a long since I've been in hip hop. X, man, we got to hang out with X at the last Southwest by Southwest down in Austin 2 years ago. His first performances, we was there in the club. His first time back on stage. Got to see him, hung out with him all night. Took pictures with him, man, and really enjoyed him. Cause we was around when he first came out. He always loved Goodie Mob. Cause to us, X was us. And in that time in New York, everybody was just so at money, and X was just so raw with his shit. Like I don't want no Bentley, nigga. I'm with dogs. He just reminded us he was just a renegade. Like I'm not doing nothing you other motherfuckers doing. I'm doing some rough shit. So, he was just incredible, man. Prince Marky D, man. Fat Boys is our favorite group, bro. Like first time Atlanta got introduced to New York hip hop was like 83, 84. We all was in middle school, and the first time the Fresh Fest came to Atlanta, it was Houdini, it was the Fat Boys, and they was all opening up for Curtis Blow because he was doing the song "They Playing Basketball." They was all opening up for Curtis Blow, man. And the way they introduced them to Atlanta, they took them around to all the high schools and middle schools, and they let the Fat Boys go on the intercom and start beatboxing through the intercom.
Ah.
And that's how they would come into the school. They'll start beatboxing on the intercom, and then they would bring all the children to the auditorium to get to see them live. So, yeah, man, Fat Boys,
Dang.
crazy, man, crazy. Yeah, man, this hip hop shit, man, you can lose it out here, man. A lot of people not gonna make it to the end. But I can say that even with Boogaloo, man, I mean, come on, man. The first time you seen West Coast popping and ticking was Turbo, and it's like them breaking movies, man. Like that shit was just part of our childhood. It was like it was breaking, it was Beat Street. It was like, you know what I mean? And then you had on top, the cherry on the top was old Crush Groove.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That was the cherry on top. You know, you went deep with your LA West Coast, with your breaking, and then you came back, you fucking with Lee them and spit in the Bronx.
Yeah.
You know, you was like, damn, I want some goddamn Adidas, man. I want that goddamn coat, man. It was just like all that shit, man, wanting to paint on trains, like, oh man, just the culture of hip hop at the beginning, man, was just so innocent, man. It was just so innocent. And everybody was a part of it, and it wasn't about no money. It was just where the world was going. Yeah.
I appreciate you taking the moment. Is there anything else you want to add on anybody?
I just want to let everybody know, man, the more you bring to the table, the less you got to ask for.
Okay.
The future is yours, but the future is only yours if you got them get uncomfortable and go and learn about something you don't know about. That's the only thing gonna save you in the future, is educating yourself into where the world's going. And I think that a lot of my brothers, man, a lot of my brothers are all colors, man. We just so stuck on that ghetto shit, that ghetto ego shit, that ghetto thinking it's cool not to know, thinking it's cool not to learn. It's like all the shit that I think that we lived off of and made cool in the 90s and the early 2000s, man, I think we all could see the bad part of that shit. We all traumatized behind all that gangster shit and all that killing, and our heroes not living. We're traumatized, and we either gonna change what our future is, or we're gonna pass that same trauma down to our kids, you know? And I tell people all the time, yeah, bro, like Gipp had family in gangs, and I know gangs are all colors, and we all got our bad parts and our worst parts, but hey, man, DMX came from the worst too, and he made something out of himself. So you got to still look at it that, man, we all still got a choice, because I know some gangsters that they behind them walls, man. If they could trade them life sentences back in to start over, they'd do it again, man. They wouldn't claim no gain. They wouldn't fuck with none of that shit. They'd be a square. Cause, you know, at the end of all that trauma and all that gangster and all that politics, man, ain't nothing but death and time.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what I would tell the youngest, man. Ain't no life in that shit, man. It looked good. It looked better when you got to remember in the 90s, man, they fed us nothing but gangster shit on TV and movies, and they glorified that shit. It was the time of the mafia in New York. Most New York rappers was coming out talking about they were Gambinos and they was this. And the culture, bro, like you got to look at the culture, because the Gambinos and Gotti them were getting money. And we usually follow what's getting money. And I would just tell my youngest now that, hey, man, the street's dead. That ain't getting money no more. The mafia shit dead. The Russians and everybody else running that type shit. You know what I mean? So really, you got to think about it. Your best bet right now is get computer savvy, start learning about some stocks and some crypto coins, Bitcoins, all this shit where the world going. Because a lot of people got rich during the pandemic, man. Everybody didn't get broke. Some people made some investments. Some people right here smiling on the low, like, shit, this shit did me good.
every disaster presents opportunity.
That's
Everyone.
Right.
Every time.
And that's all I want to leave with my brothers, man. Like, man, just know this, man. What worked in the old world ain't gonna work in this new one.
All right.
You know what I mean? Got to get smarter the way we move. Don't nothing last forever.
Now when we end the call, I want to stay on the line. I'm gonna end the video, but we're gonna stay on the line. But I did want to ask you this before we got off, and that was like the best way to end it, what you just said. but I, I can't go. You know, I like to have you have your flowers while you're breathing, so you can smell them, right? And I did want you to have a chance to acknowledge any artists that influenced you or people who influenced you in your life. You know, to be the MC you are, the artist you are, the businessman, or just the man you are. Is there any, you know?
My father, man. My father, King. I was really raised by a real man. You know what I mean? I know a lot of my homeboys, they didn't have fathers. A lot of the people that was in my neighborhood, they mostly came to my house to be around my
Hold on, lift your phone up so we can hear everything you're saying. Cause
I said the one of the most important men in my life was my father.
okay.
You know what I mean? Also George Clinton been a real big influence in our life. Prince, he was in the Dungeon family life. He was a lot of around us, man. I say Dallas Austin been a real big influence for Atlanta. He was a leader. Jermaine Dupri, he did his thing, man, with what he had done. Organized Noise for bringing us to the game. And L.A. Reid for giving us a chance, you know. You know, LaFace Records for giving us a chance. But, you know, like, at this point in life, man, I just want to say, man, that the people is who I'm really here for. You know what I mean? I'm not here to be the biggest. I'm not here to be the best. I'm just here to do what I'm supposed to do.
Thank you so much, Big Gipp. I appreciate you spending this time on your busy business day. And we want to remind everybody, Big Gipp and the Goodie Mob, of course, have a new album out, Survival Kit. You want to check that out. They're on tour with the beautiful Erykah Badu and her magical self. So it's a double magic with the Goodie Mob and Erykah Badu. And where can I find those tour dates or follow progress on that?
They be going up soon. Just look at my page, Gipp Goodie, Gipp Goodies, and that's across the board on Instagram everywhere. Just look for Gipp Goodie, and I'll be posting everything. The Erykah dates is kind of like fall. I know this week we got the shit show. We got King of Diamonds in Atlanta. Then we're going to Miami. We're going to Jackson. We're gonna be all over the South all summer, man.
The King of Diamonds Atlanta, that's Akinelli's new club, right?
Yay.
No doubt. No doubt. Well, hey, I really appreciate you. We're going to stay on right after we quit the recording, but I really want to thank you and all of our viewers, of course, for all the game you dropped and all the sharing and, you know, history. And also congratulations on your new ventures, your business venture with Gipp Goodies. And everybody to know where to look to find out more, okay?
Thank you so much, King. You have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
All
right.